Hello everyone. So we are live again for yet another author live chat with fan series, and today Sunday, 8 a.m. CST, 31st August 2021. We are live again on Facebook page. Instead of 8 p.m. CST, we are doing it at 8 a.m. CST because our guest today is based at Denmark, and to accommodate to her time zone, we have shifted to 8 a.m. instead of 8 p.m., the time that we usually go live on Sundays. Nevertheless, today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. It's about the art of attraction, and I am very intrigued. I'm very excited to connect with as Byskov again, after probably about more than a year right now. I'm connecting with her again for yet another author live chat, and this time around we're going to talk particularly about the art of attraction and how her work, especially regarding Martinus, her work on Martinus, and how Martinus's work has actually impacted, or probably how his work has spoken more about the art of attraction and how it differs from the law of attraction and the secret that we have heard before. So why is it different and how is it different? That's what we're going to talk about today, and I believe that if you are interested in the law of attraction and you into spirituality, this would definitely be a show that you would not want to miss. And so without further ado, let's talk about, let's introduce author Els Byskov a little bit. Els Byskov is a top authority on Martinus, the Danish mystic who died in 1981 and who undoubtedly is one of today's most exciting thinkers and spiritual masters. In 1995, Els came across Martinus's work, and it completely changed her way of seeing the world. Where before there was a confusion, chaos, and misery, now there was insight, beauty, and logic. She has written 5 books in English about Martinus's fascinating world picture. Death is an illusion, The Art of Attraction, The Beginning is Near, New Perspectives on Life, The Undiscovered Country, a non-religious look at life after death, The Downfall of Marriage, the Great Transformation of our Sexual and Marital Relations. Now, Els' website is www.newspiritualscience.com, and you can also check out her Facebook page at New Spiritual Science 101. On Facebook. And so without further ado, let's welcome author Els to our show today. Hello Els, hello. Thank you for joining my live show today, and I know that we've had some difficulties to connect last week, but nevertheless I'm very glad that we are able to connect today. So Els, I have actually briefly introduced a little bit about yourself, but I think it would be great to hear from you, a little bit about yourself that probably we, the audience, have not known yet about you.
Yeah, well, interestingly, Martinus was, I think, the first to mention the law of attraction, which he did already back in 1932. Way before there was anything called The Secret or anything. And Martinus was very clear about the importance of the law of attraction, because he said it's the most powerful natural law in the world. It keeps the planets in its place, it keeps everything in its place, it keeps the planet orbiting the sun at the right distance, and we cannot even imagine what this law does. But it is also a very important law to know when we think about ourselves and what we emit, because the fact is that we are not only identical to this physical body. We are actually identical to our field of energy that sits around the physical body in the shape of our aura. And most people know that we have an aura, but as it is not visible, it's something that people may very well like be ignorant about. But this aura, everything, not only our aura, but every physical thing, every spiritual aspect has a vibration. Everything in this world has vibration. And this vibration creates a wavelength. And the law of attraction works on wavelengths, because the law of attraction will attract similar wavelengths to each other and repel dissimilar wavelengths from each other. So, and this is very, very interesting and very important. So, when we think thoughts, which we all do, we all have a thought sphere that is dominated by our predominant thoughts. Like, if we are happy to be alive, if we're happy to be here, and we want to be kind and helpful to other people, this affects our vibration and our wavelength. And likewise, if we are very angry and dissatisfied with life, if we hate a lot of other people, if we are ready to go out and kill them and want to be a terrorist, and in general are very, very angry and dissatisfied with life, then obviously that has a different vibration to the happy person's vibration. So those two vibrations are very different. And when we go around our daily business, we may go into the street and we meet a person, we will automatically be attracted to a person whose wavelength is more or less on the same level or the same wavelength as our own. So if I go along the street and I see a person, that sort of it's an attraction. It is a physical attraction. And we have the expression that we are on wavelength, and that is a simple a reality, that we will meet up with people that we are on wavelength with, and we will feel repelled by people that are very different, whose mind is very different from our own. So it is so important to realize that our type of thoughts, the thoughts we think, define the wavelength of our aura. And with this wavelength, we attract other people and we attract happenings in our lives, incidents, whatever. So, and this is good, because when we realize that, we can actively work on our mix of thoughts. And let's say that we are very negative and we're dissatisfied with life. We can try to change that, and we can say, oh, maybe this negative thinking is not very good for my attraction, which it absolutely is not good for our health either. So I think it's very important to realize that we decide to a very large extent our attraction. So let's say that I'm a very kind person, and I am always looking out to help people. I want to make a difference in people's lives if I can. I want to empower others. And in general, I'm a good person. then this will affect our lives in such a way that we can hardly imagine it. Because you said to me when we were talking about this program that you had serendipities happening in your life. And the more positive you can be, the happier you can be, the more helpful and empowering to others you can be, the more will it affect your attraction. And at a certain point in your life, when you have been a very good person for a very long time, you will get what Martinus calls karmic tailwind. And karmic tailwind, that means that even before you have thought the thought of whatever you want or whatever you wish, it is attracted to you. When, I have in my book, The Art of Attraction, this is it. Mm-hmm. I have many examples of things that have happened to me, that like things that just out of the blue, I was helped. I was helped in every way I could possibly imagine. And once you start realizing this, life becomes so magical that you can hardly believe it. But it is the law of attraction in action. So, thank you. So, I mean, it really pays to be good. It really does. Because with happy thoughts, with positive thinking, with gratitude, living in gratitude is probably the most powerful thing you can do for your general attraction. Is that because the more things you think about to be grateful for, the more things will you attract that you can be grateful for. And at a certain point, it becomes so magical that you cannot help not being extremely like in awe of how the universe works. It is sheer magic. But in order to be a good attractor of good happenings in your life, of being helped and getting help before you even realize you need it, you have to be like very positive all year, like all around. You cannot one day be very nice and kind, and then the other day be extremely angry with other people and go out into the street and shout at them, or participate in the killing of other people via your diet, for instance. Not other people, sorry, other living beings, animals, via your diet. So it is really about being very grateful and positive in all respects of life. So I have to say that, and I know it's extremely unpopular, but skipping eating meat is a huge step forward in your ability to attract what you want in life, because the vibration of the meat that you put into your body will affect your vibration, no doubt about it, and it will affect it in a negative way. So I cannot advocate enough for a plant-based diet. It affects you in so many ways, more ways than you can even imagine. So that was like the small introduction to this law of attraction. And I mean, the more you get into it, the more you realize how much the law of attraction affects your life. It's active in your life 24/7, whether you realize it or not, whether you know about it or not, it is there and it works. You cannot not attract. It's impossible. But the good thing is that once you know this, you can decide to attract what you want. Like a lot of people, they don't attract. They attract by default. They attract what is. And that is not interesting. It's not interesting to attract what is. Like, well, I'm not really attracting anything because I'm just attracting what I can see, and I don't really know what it is. So for that reason, it's actually a good idea to have some plans, some wishes. Like you can say, I wish to attract this and that. This is my desire. And this is an extremely good piece of news that I'm now presenting. Martinus says that all our wishes will come true in this life or in a future life. And how can he say that? Why does he say that? He does because in this universe, all energies go in cycles. I mean, whatever we do sends out an energy. Whatever action we perform, it sends out an energy. And this energy will go in cycles because there's no straight line in the universe. This is a fact that physics also acknowledges. There's no straight line in the universe. So your wish, the wish you send out, will go in a cycle and it will come back to you sooner or later. It may not be in the same incarnation, but it will come back to you because it is something you have sent out, and it is law that it must come back to you. And when it comes back to you, your wishes will be fulfilled, all of them. I know it sounds fantastic, but it is really true. And I have seen it in so many instances in my friends' life, like, oh, I want to be this, I want to have this kind of job, I want to be an author and sell lots of books. And after maybe 15, 20 years. It happens. And you say, what? Why, that was fantastic. That was what I wanted, and now it happens. But it is law that it should happen. So, yeah, what can I say other than be good, be grateful, be helpful.
Right. Now, I think there are several questions that I actually want to ask you just by basing on what you said earlier. You mentioned that we cannot be like choose to be grateful today and the next day get back into negative thoughts and the spiral of negative thoughts and things like that, which will affect the whole the law of attraction. I mean, attracting what we want, because we are not consistent. Now, how, I mean, like, people who, let's just say, people who do not have money, or people who are desperate for money, just being hit by extreme poverty, I think the only thing that they would want is probably food or money, like fast food or fast money, fast cash, right? So at that moment of time, I think the kind of energy that you are emitting out is nothing but probably desperation. I mean, you're just very desperate because it's all about survival, right? So when it comes to desperation, it is not really a high vibration emotion or thoughts, sort of like a low vibration thoughts, but that's how people got to be, right? I mean, when they are really desperate for something, that's what they are. So how we while being true to ourselves and our emotions, while feeling our emotions, how do we juggle between the two, like being positive but also acknowledging our emotions?
The worst thing you can do if you want to attract anything is to focus on the lack of it, because now I have sent out a wish and I really want it, but where is it? Why hasn't it come? And then you start focusing on the lack. And you cannot, in this attraction-based universe, you cannot focus on the opposite of what you want and still attract it. Like, for instance, let's say you want to find a lover, and you are single, you want to find a lover, and you see him in front of you. You have his height and his hair color and everything. You look upon it, and you send out this desire to meet this person. And then after some time, he doesn't appear. And then you start focusing on the lack. Where is he? Why hasn't he come? And you cannot focus on the lack and at the same time attract it. So it's the same as if you are focusing on a specific illness all the time. Like, a lot of people are very afraid of whatever illness it may be, and they focus on it. They say, oh my God, I hope I don't get cancer or whatever it is. And they focus on it, and they focus on it, and they focus on it some more. And you cannot attract good health if you focus on a specific illness. If you focus on a specific illness for a certain amount of time, can be 2-3 years, you will attract it. It is law. You cannot avoid to attract it. So never do that. Only think of your own health, like of people who want to conceive a baby, and they think it's so difficult. We cannot do it. We are focusing on temperature curves and ovulation and sperm count and whatnot, and they are focusing on the lack. And you cannot attract a spiritual being to be your next baby if you focus constantly on the lack of it. So focusing on the lack of anything is completely detrimental to the fulfilling of your wish. So get away from that. And the same with money, because let's say that you want to have more money. A lot of people do, and obviously because we need it, and they focus on the lack of it. Like, they live in poverty consciousness, and they focus on the lack of it. Every time they go and buy something, they think, oh, I can't afford this. No. And the more they focus on this, the more lack they attract. I know it's a very difficult, it is a difficult exercise to stop focusing on lack if you are poor, but it can be done, and it certainly should be done, because the moment you think these thoughts instead, the universe is an extremely abundant place, and there's so much money on this planet. There's more money than anybody could ever spend. So please let some of this money flow to me. I can see it coming. I'm so excited that it's coming. Yeah, it's coming, and suddenly I'm rich. I mean, I've tried this on my own body. I lived in poverty consciousness for decades because I couldn't get my head around it. But then when I finally got my head around it, I tell you, gone was the poverty consciousness. Money started appearing from so many different places that it was absolutely amazing. I mean, once you realize this, and once you experience it on your own body, you can't believe it. You can't believe how it works. But it does. It works. It's law. So stop focusing on the lack of anything. Never focus on lack. Never focus on negativity or doubt or anger or hatred or whatever. Be a positive, kind person, and never focus on the lack. I hope this answered your question, because I have problems hearing what you're asking me, so I just say something. Anyway.
Yes, correct. Yes, that was what I asked you.
Good.
That was what I asked you. And I think, sometimes people would say that whatever that you wish for may not happen, at that point of time, but eventually, at the divine timing,
Exactly.
it
Yes.
will take place. Now, I think that's where the trap is, because a lot of people want something pretty desperately, or pretty much within when they think it should happen. So, how do you think that people can let go or surrender of when they think something should happen?
I think the most important thing is to realize that we are not identical to our physical body, and that this is not the only life we live. When you know that your consciousness is who you really are, your consciousness is not restricted to the brain, it sits around your body in the shape of our aura, which I've already said, and that is who you are. And once your physical body becomes useless due to injury, accidents, illness, or old age, you pull everything out. Your consciousness is who you are. It is not your body. Your physical body is just an instrument. An instrument that the spiritual forces in your aura use as long as the physical instrument is workable. But once it stops working, you pull out, and you pull everything out with it. All the experiences that you have reaped in your last incarnation, all the knowledge you have learned, everything that you have become, and everything you are, you pull out. So in this perspective, it is not so difficult to see that whatever you have sent out may be traveling for a longer time in the universe until it comes back to you. But it doesn't really matter, because you are the same. There's no difference between you when you are in a physical body and once you have left your physical body. And this is confirmed by all the near-death experiences. They all say, I was exactly the same without my physical body. I was actually a lot better because I was lighter and it was a lot easier to move around. So, the perspective of the one life theory is really so grim. It is grim and absolutely uninteresting. But the real perspective of you being an eternal being, because that is what we are, it opens up a completely new worldview, as you can imagine. And also the simple fact that nobody can understand his or her fate seen in a one life perspective. You think, like, you come into this world and you are maybe ill, or you're accident prone or whatever, and you think, wow, this is so very unjust that I am born with this illness, and look at my neighbor. He's healthy and such. Why aren't I? And the answer is, well, you created whatever illness you come into. You have now. You created that in a former life, due to, what can I say, unfortunate mix of energies. You're using the energies that are at your disposal in an unfortunate way, not because you're a bad person, but simply because you're not aware of your own power, of the power you have over your own existence. And it is huge. You are so powerful, you have no idea. But obviously, you have to realize where this power comes from and what it is. And I mean, believing in the one life theory is so detrimental to a complete understanding of who we are that I really don't recommend the one life theory. I know it's predominant in the Western world, but it's just a question of opening our eyes, I think, and getting a new perspective, a completely new look at who we are. And I think that the work of Martinus in this respect is fantastic. It's a cornucopia of spiritual insight. And today, I mean, this year, it is 100 years ago that Martinus had his spiritual experience in which he attained cosmic consciousness. That happened in 1921, 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. And an estimate would say that today there may be 20,000 people alive on this planet who have even heard of him, and 10,000 maybe who have actually read his work, or even less. So, I mean, we have to be extremely grateful that we have been given such a huge gift of spiritual knowledge. Just a pity that it's not better known, but this happens in its own timing. And I mean, all we can do is inform about it and invite people to dig there, to dig into it and find out what it is. So I mean, to expand and lift us, you know, to a higher understanding, which is fantastic. I mean, I must say.
Right. I mean, you mentioned that, you know, whatever that we wish for will be granted by the universe, right? But I think in some cases, or in our lives, some of the things that we wished for never happens, or maybe at least never happen, and you know, people are forced to come to terms with it, right? So what do you have to say about that? I think this is also the reason why some people despise or think that, you know, the law of attraction is just a little bit too positive. You know, it's kind of like toxic positive, or it is not really the reality. You know, some people are under the impression that it's not what it is. You know, so how do we deal with that? Like,
you know, when you want to reap carrots, you have to sow them first. First you sow them, and after a certain time, you can reap them. So when you're not getting what you want, you have to sow first what you want. You cannot expect to reap where you haven't sown. So if you want to reap abundance, you must sow it first. You must be, I mean, not physical abundance, but be abundant with your feelings, with your attitudes, with the way you are. Be kind to other people. Help them where you can. I mean, the more you send out into the universe of positive vibes and positive attitudes and gratitude, then you will get it back. But you cannot, if you go out there and sow dissatisfaction and you lift your fist against heaven and say, I'm so angry, that is what you will reap. So you have to be very consistent in the sowing of what you would like to reap. You have to sow before you can reap. So, I mean, it may take time, and everything takes time, but as an eternal being, we are not in any lack of time. We have eternity before us. So whatever time it takes for us to get our heads around it, we will have to spend. And practice. We may not become good at this in this lifetime, but the more we practice, the better we will get at it. And the level that we have reached when we pass over, when we transition onto the spiritual plane, will be the level that we take with us into our next incarnation. Everything that we have become, everything we have learned will be saved for us in escrow. And when we come back, we will pick it up and we'll continue from exactly the point where it stopped the last time we transitioned or died. We cannot really die, but our physical body will have to be replaced with a new physical body, because the physical body is subject to wear and tear, as we all know. So at a certain point, we have to renew it. We have to exit from it, and then we get a new spacesuit or whatever we want to call it. But this is simply how it works. But everything we have learned, we take with us into our next incarnation. So no knowledge is lost. None.
Right. And I also think that when it comes to the law of attraction, staying positive and I think the consistency versus the emotions that we feel, right? So at that point of time. So how do you think that these inconsistencies will affect our manifestation process, the process of manifesting something?
Yeah.
Because I think we are all there, like, the emotions are being, trying to be true to our emotions, right? So how do we,
Yeah, you're right about that. Our emotions are actually important for the force in our attractions, because if we are just wishing something and we're saying, oh, I'm not really sure I want this, but okay, I'll try to see if I can attract it, then you're not a very good attractor. But if you can think about it with joy and enthusiasm, and you can visualize it as if it has already happened, then you become a much more powerful attractor. So the more positive and happy thoughts that you can think in connection with your wish, the sooner will it come. And we all have this built-in emotional guidance system, which is a fantastic tool we have. Because let's say you think about you think about, let's say again, this man you want to meet, and you think about him with great desire and great enthusiasm and joy, then you will attract him. But if you think about him with, I'm actually not really sure, maybe his teeth are too long, or whatever you can think about, then you will slow down your attraction. So it is very important that you focus on being extremely positive about what you want. It simply helps the process along. And again, your emotional guidance system is so important that you listen to it, that you are aware what you're feeling in connection with any thought. Let us say that you are thinking about a bombed out city that has just been bombed by the enemy, and your emotional guidance system will immediately come with this verdict. It will say, oh, no, I don't want to think about that. So if you have those kind of thoughts, your emotional guidance system has told you, stay away from this kind of thought. And you may think that you are not a master of your own thinking, but that is also a very important thing to realize, that you decide what kind of thoughts you think. I mean, a lot of people think that or like they can see that or feel that thoughts are milling around in your head and you have no control over them. But that is actually just because you haven't exerted your control yet. Because once you realize, what are all these thoughts doing in my head? Why are they there? And you say, no, I don't want to have those thoughts milling around from now on. I decide what thoughts are being thought in my head. And you are the one king of your mental sphere. There's nobody else to decide it than you, but you. So once you say, no, I will not let those thoughts mill around in my head in an unordered, disordered way. I decide which thoughts are being thought here. And I've experienced this on my own body. But once I made a decision to not think about accidents or what can happen, or all the horrible things that are going on in the world, they will happen without me focusing on them or not. So I will only focus on being positive and grateful and happy. And once you make that active decision, you will see how your life turns around. Because yes, take the scepter in your hand and decide that you are the boss. I'm the boss in this thought sphere. Not my mother, not my husband, not my friends. I am the boss. And then if you have, like, let's say you still have negative, you've made a decision that you're the boss. And let's say you still have negative thoughts that come milling into your head. It's no use just to say no to them. No, get away. The universe, the law of attraction, does not understand no. So what you have to do instead is have, like, let's say 5 substitute thoughts that you can start thinking instead. So let's say you are thinking about a bombed out city and you think, oh, that's so terrible, I can't stand it. Then you have a substitute thought, like you see yourself lying on a palm-clad island in the tropics somewhere with whoever you want to be in company with. Or you have another image of yourself in some very desirable situation. And when you have your negative thoughts coming, and they will come for a certain time, they will come because that is what is usually happens. But once you start thinking, putting in instead one of your alternative positive thoughts, then after just a few weeks, a month, the negative thoughts will stop coming because they are tired of this game, and now they have realized, or whatever it is, that there's somebody else in control here, and I cannot just enter this thought sphere anymore. So have a series of alternative thoughts ready to replace the negative thoughts with, and within a few weeks you will see how it works. It really works. So I mean, after some years you will become so good at it that you will never think a negative thought again. That's my experience. I never think a negative thought. I mean, as soon as it appears or whatever, if I see something on television, I say, well, this is something that happens, but it does not affect my feelings. It does not affect my way of thinking. So, and once you have reached that point, you have so much control over your life that you can hardly believe it. It really, really works.
Fantastic. I mean, I really think that some people, when they are trying to manifest, or they are trying to eliminate the pattern, right? Maybe they are seeing themselves in the same situation again and again, like kind of like stuck, So they have to do some sort of inner work, or in order to eliminate something that is attracting them towards that thing, right? So that can be something difficult because it almost feels like you are just trapped in that similar dynamic, and you keep meeting the same situation. You keep encountering the same situation and again. What do you have to say about that, and how do we break away? Or maybe will you say that we need to look at the unfamiliar situations that situations that we may not have considered before. Do you think that we need to shift our perspectives to look at new things from a new perspective in order to change what we attract?
Yes, I think we have to shift our focus from being a physical being to realizing that we are actually not this physical being. We are our consciousness and we are our aura. And this is spiritual. This is energy. We are energy beings before anything else. We are energy beings that are now at this point in time having a physical experience. And energy works by the law of attraction, and our thoughts define our wavelength. So once you really get this and decide to massage your thoughts so that they are positive and happy and grateful, then you cannot avoid achieving a much better existence. But if you insist on looking at life via the physical glasses, and you see, oh, I'm this miserable poor person living in not very nice situation or circumstances, then you must and it may sound complicated, but it is, as once you get your head around it, and once you realize you are an electric being, you are an energy being, you are not this body, and you know that energy vibrates, and you know it is attracted and repelled by the law of attraction, then you can really start working on your thought sphere and putting other ingredients in your thoughts, because it is the putting of positive and grateful ingredients into your thought sphere that will eventually bring you what you want. So I mean, it's really it's a mental exercise. It's not a physical exercise. I mean, you can walk around the streets doing whatever. you can work your ass off in a dull job, but it will never give you the same results as a mental cleanup will do. And the realizing that you attract with your thoughts, not with your physical body. And the law of attraction is the most powerful lateral law at work in the universe. It's also responsible for gravity, for instance. Then you will realize that this is what you will have to work on. If you want to change your life, change the way you think. I mean, I'm not the first person to say this. A lot of people have said that. They say it in The Secret. Martinus said it. It is simply how it works. And the more we can get our heads around it, I'm not saying it's easy, but all we can do is practice. Start looking at it. Start realizing that this is how it works. And practice. You cannot avoid changing your life.
Right. I definitely think that it takes a lot of awareness, especially to catch ourselves when we are starting to think negative thoughts. When we just about to the negative thoughts, when it just occurs in our head, we have to catch ourselves. We have to catch ourselves in order to stop that thought, right? I think a lot of people, they do not know what are the triggers, that makes them attract the negative thoughts, and when it happens, in order for them to stop that, right? So um, how do you think that we can stay attuned to our thoughts?
You can attune to whatever you want by focusing on it. Focusing on it with joy and expectation and happiness. Never, ever, ever focus on what you don't want. That is just not on. It is not on. If you focus on what you don't want, you will attract it. If you focus on what you want, you will attract it. So, get your attraction exercise in shape. Work on it, practice, and it will happen. But a lot of people, they attract by default. They attract by default by not realizing that whatever they focus on is what they attract. So if I focus on the war in Iran or Iraq or wherever it is, then I'm not in alignment with my own wishes. So focus on what you want, and never, ever, ever, ever focus on what you don't want. You will attract it. So, mind the gap.
Do you think that the activity of journaling, writing it down, and trying to be specific as you can, whatever that you are trying to manifest, whatever that you are trying to attract into your life, do you think that helps? Jotting it down, describing it, and just trying to be more specific of what we want.
Yeah, I know it's difficult that when you are poor and you may be sitting in the gutter and you don't have a cent. I know it's very, very difficult to start being grateful for your life and attracting abundance, because you can't see any abundance anywhere. You're stuck in the gutter and all you see is lack. But this is the spiritual exercise. This is what the spiritual exercise is all about: to seeing beyond your present situation and focusing on a different reality than the one you're living in. Because if you are unhappy with your life, there's something that has to change. You cannot attract a different type of life thinking the same old thoughts, same old. You have to change the way you're thinking. And once you can do that, once you realize that this has happened, start by small things. Like, for instance, let us say you want to start thinking thoughts of gratitude, and you will say, what can I attract? And let's say you're sitting in the gutter, you're unhappy, and you start by saying, today I want to attract a smile from a passerby. And somebody smiled. Now I want to attract a dollar or whatever. And then you can build this up. But obviously you cannot attract a different reality with the same old thoughts. Something has to change, and the something that has to change is in your thoughts. It's there, and you are the boss. You can start thinking different thoughts right now. It doesn't take any time. It doesn't take any kind of preparation. It doesn't change. It doesn't take a new situation to happen. You can start right now. It's your decision.
Right. I think that we all, whenever we want to attract something, we keep looking at the lack, and we keep being desperate, or we keep feeding the negative thoughts, which is why we sort of delay the process. We we delay the process, and we are being trapped in that situation longer than we are supposed to, and that's why it happens. And now coming to confusion, right? I mean, I have to ask this question. When someone is confused, like they are seeking clarity on something that they don't really know what they want, right? They're seeking clarity. They're not quite sure what they want yet. Maybe A, maybe B, or maybe even C. So in that state, right? How do you think that they should move forward, or what are the things that they should do
It's
in order
actually
to
it's actually
not
easy.
attract the wrong thing?
It's actually easy to answer, because most people are not sure about what they want because they don't believe that what they really want is ever going to happen. So they I cannot think about my biggest wish because that is too big. It's too big. So I'd better tone it down and wish something smaller. And that's the worst thing you can do, because for the universe, no wish is too big. I mean, it sounds amazing, and it is. No wish is too big. So start wishing your wildest dreams, and then focus on them. Focus, and never doubt it, and don't go for less than your wildest dreams. And I mean, I have experienced this myself, because you grow up in an atmosphere of there's not enough, and you have to work really hard, and life is hard, and life is in many ways not a great experience. It's a sour thing. And but once you go away from this and start focusing on your wildest dreams, that is where you should start. Not by thinking some mediocre wish, but go for it. I mean, what can happen? Nothing. Go for it. Send it out into the universe, and this is my dream, and I want it. I'm crazy about it. I'm enthusiastic and over the moon about it. Then it will happen. But don't go for less than your wildest dreams. Don't go for less.
Right. I think that definitely is an eye-opening question and answer, because I think that we get confused because of definitely what you said. We don't really believe that we deserve what we ask.
Yeah.
We ask for, and that most in most situations, it could be because of our external environment and probably the way we grew up and things like that, telling us that it's not possible. And like you said, I think we have to look beyond the present moment and believe that whatever that we ask for can be granted. So definitely, I mean, I'm so glad that you shed light on this confusion, especially when people have confusion. I think that is definitely one of the reasons why people are not sure what they want.
Yeah,
right?
Because they don't believe.
They're not able to see it.
No. They don't believe it can happen, and that's like not. It's detrimental to it actually happening. So I mean, just focus on what you want, and never focus on the lack. How hard can it be?
Right. Fantastic. I mean, your book, once again, it's on Amazon, so I have been flashing it a few times earlier on, and you have some really amazing reviews over here for this particular book, The Art of Attraction, just new aspects of the Law of Attraction. It's on Amazon, and it's on Kindle as well. Also on paperback, and so this is where people can actually go get it. And spiritualscience.com is your website, and I think that's where people can get connected with you as well through social media and as your Facebook page, and also your website, right? So else, before we end the show, is there any other books that you're working on at this point of time that you may want to briefly tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment I have written 9 books in English about aspects of Martinus's work, and my Art of Attraction book is actually it came out in Danish in 2011, and so it is. It's a book that I wrote 10 years ago, or even more, 11 years ago, and since then I have written, as I said, more books. So I mean, I could maybe say that together with my friend Maria McMahon, I have written 3 books in the Spiritual Nutshell series: Reincarnation in a Nutshell, Fate and Karma in a Nutshell, and Life After Death in a Nutshell. And they are sort of short books that give an easy to understand introduction to these concepts: reincarnation, fate, and life after death. And they are a very if you want to have some idea about this, I think that I would recommend that you read them, because, as I said, finding out what is behind reincarnation and how reincarnation actually takes place is what we are talking about in the reincarnation book. And there's no hocus pocus about it. Martinus explains in detail how the process of reincarnation takes place. And I think that's very useful to know, as it is extremely useful to know how the law of karma works, so that you can start, if you're not already doing it, sowing what you want to reap, but this we have already talked about. And also what happens when we die, how we spend our time in the spiritual world between physical incarnations. So there's a lot there to dig into, and they are easy to read. As I said, they're short books, around 120, 150 pages, and they are cheap. So, I mean, if you want to get into the Martinus, more into the Martinus material, these are like, I would say, good options.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Els, for joining us today and explaining so very in detail about the art of attraction, and then also how a little bit on Martinus's work and especially on the art of attraction. And I think that this is definitely an interesting interview or interesting session, especially for people out there who have always been interested to learn more about manifestation, how to attract the things that they want in life, and especially how to maintain their vibes, their aura, and because it's all energy, and that's the kind of energy that we give out is what we attract back. So it's all about adjusting, it's all about practice. And I hope that those who are watching this later as well, after this interview is over, will find it beneficial. So what I'm going to do is to upload this interview on Instagram as well, on YouTube. So I will be cross-posting this on Instagram and YouTube. On Facebook, this is going to be available for replay immediately as soon as the interviews, we are done with the live. So thank you so much, Els, once again for joining and talking about your book. It's a pleasure connecting with you, and I hope that we will meet again in another interview series to talk more about your book and also your spiritual journey with Martinus's work. Thank you so much, Els, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.